Yo, double up, man, I'm trying to add zeros. Them man there for the other win, but we got it last minute, man, I feel like Aguero. Long time I've been dishing out CVs, but down I speak to a boss. And my young bro linking these girls, 950, got make up on his Fendi top. I'm on route to a mill like Heskey. And my city, man, coming for the sterling, I'm feeling like Stanley, so we might get tech. And this ain't no bet. She pull her top up like I said. She said she wanna go to the finals. Could she even hold the semi?
Yo. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy E, 1/3 of the High Press Podcast. And once again, I'm here live and direct with the young Turkish bacon himself, Bijan. What's going on, man? Say hi to the people, man.
What's up, High Press Nation? Back in Chicago again for another one.
Still in Chicago.
Live.
Word up, man. Yeah, just like we said on the last episode, Bijan lives in Chicago and I was here in town for the Gold Cup final. It was crazy. You should definitely check out that episode if you want to hear our takes on the atmosphere and all of that shit. We talked about the Women's World Cup, we talked about Copa America, and we talked about just how great of a summer of soccer we've gotten.
That's right.
And how quickly the upcoming season is actually coming. Like, literally, I believe you said it starts in a month, right?
That's right. This game's starting in a month. Can't believe it.
Which is wild, because literally, like, I feel like the Premier League just finished, like, last month and shit. But actually, it's almost been, like, 2 or 3 months, and I just haven't even realized it, because we've been watching so much soccer. So players are starting to report back to their clubs. Except a couple of high-profile names, I should say. We'll talk some transfers later on in the show, but we just thought that that was pretty interesting. Neymar and Griezmann are doing some strong hand tactics on their team. They're like, oh wait, y'all don't want to sell us? Okay, we not coming to training. Right? Like, all right, that's some high podcast scouser shit right there. I kind of like it.
I like it.
I kind of like it, man. We'll see, man. On to another story. Gareth Bale, who has been in the news a lot lately. Real Madrid are, dead set on selling him. They don't want to pay him, his contract was like 450 euros a week or whatever. Zidane doesn't really need him. He doesn't really rate him. So apparently he reported to the team facilities yesterday. Their first training is actually today. But yesterday, how they have the fans lined up and shit. The guys pull up to the gate. The players come out. They had a Toni Kroos came out. He got a crazy applause. Modric came out. Everybody was like, Luka. Carvajal, the new signings. Rodrigo came in and Jovic. And then when Gareth Bale hopped out the car, niggas started booing him, son. Yo, you know how Gareth Bale has to feel? He's like, bro, didn't I score 20 goals for y'all last year? And you booing me?
I scored a bicycle kick in the Champions League final.
Like, it's training. I haven't even done anything on the field yet this year, and y'all booing me. And supposedly, there was like going other chance of like, he's spoiled or whatever. Just some wild shit. And I wanted to ask you, do you think Bale deserves all of that animosity? Like,
yes and no, I guess.
Why?
Yeah. Because, Bale is, the guy also is, you're content with just sitting on the bench, too. I guess as a fan, if I was a fan of my team and Bale was on my team, I wouldn't like the guy either. Because he doesn't seem like he really wants to play. And, the fact that he gets injured so often and so much, I think that's not unlucky anymore at that point. I think that's a lack of care in your body and understanding how you need to be to stay healthy. And I think as a fan, that would kind of piss me off. The guy just wants to sit and collect paychecks and play golf. And there are alternatives that he's just turning down. But then again, that could also be Madrid not wanting to cut their losses and realize if they want to get rid of this guy, well, you're going to have to take a loss.
Because they paid a lot of money for him. I believe it was like 103 million euros or something like that.
But how many seasons? They got
5 years,
6 years. So at this point, okay, you had the guy, you won 4 Champions Leagues with him.
You won the
La
league
Liga
a couple
titles
times,
with him.
yeah.
So I think you've gotten your return on investment on the guy, so whether it's breaking even at this point and then selling him for less than you got him for, well, you're getting those wages off the books.
That $400K, exactly.
A locker room guy who's probably has some causing some divide in the locker room out of it. So I think it's more on Real Madrid at this point. It's not on Gareth Bale.
Right.
Because he signed a contract, he's getting money, he's like, yo, I'm honoring my contract. So
I mean, he showed up for training. You know, he's not like Neymar and all of them. He's there. And he's getting shit for it from the fans. I actually think that the main reason that people don't like him is because he's been there for 5 years and he's refused to learn Spanish.
That's another thing, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like for Spain, and you're like he's supposed to be now the figurehead kind of Real Madrid, and he refuses to learn Spanish. Like, you know, so it's kind of just like you said, it's him being not knowing if he really wants to be there, right?
It seems like he doesn't. He doesn't want to be there. He just wants to be there because he's getting paid a shit ton of money. And fair play to him, respect to him. He is well within his right to do it. But as a fan, I wouldn't like that.
I mean, if you live in a country for 5 years, bro, like you don't know a lick of Spanish yet?
Yeah, that's another thing. You gotta learn the language of the country that you're living in. And like you would think a player would want the fans on his side.
Right, they would want to embrace him.
Yeah,
like, come on, bro. It's not like it's hard, right? He had, you know, you could get Rosetta Stone and you know, saying all of that shit. Like, matter of fact, you're growing up, your Spanish wasn't really that great, you know. But then you moved to South America for like 4 or 5 months, and you came back. You were a Spanish teacher at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I find it. I find it impossible.
Exactly. Like you really
in a country that only speaks a language for 5 fucking years and not speak that language.
Well,
you
granted,
have to try not to speak it.
Right. Granted, I'm sure he has help. He has hundreds of millions of dollars, right? You know what I'm saying? So he has people to do his communicating for him and all of that, and he has translators and he has people that can, you know, do his business in Spanish, and he doesn't have to kind of do it. Right. But it's like, just like you said, you literally have to try not to learn Spanish. Like, it has to be
how you not pick up something?
Something, bro. Come on.
And if you're gonna do it that way, at least like be funny about it and like have like a personality about it. But it seems like he's kind of just like whatever about it. I don't know.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see with Gareth Bale. I mean, obviously, a lot of teams would take him. They don't want to pay the price tag, you know, that's set for him. So we'll see how that whole drama plays out. But I have a hard time. Seeing him at Real Madrid this summer. It's just gonna cause so much problems that they don't need.
They got to figure a way to get rid of him. Apparently, there's a Chinese team offered Gareth Bale double his wages. That's like $1 million a week.
Oh my god.
To go play there, but they don't want to pay a transfer fee for him. So Real Madrid doesn't want it. But they offered to take his wages off the books.
Jesus.
And that's been the problem with unloading Gareth Bale. Real Madrid will loan him out, no problem.
But nobody wants to take on the contract.
Take on that $450,000, $500,000 a week wage or whatever it is, and Real Madrid doesn't even want to subsidize it.
Interesting stuff, man. It'll definitely be interesting to see. They just brought in a lot of new players. He doesn't figure in the team's plans. They've told him he doesn't figure in the team's plans. So we'll see if it's just a situation where if they literally can't sell him, he just won't play. He'll be on the bench making $500,000 a week and won't play.
Yeah. Sign me up for that.
What a life.
I'll take. You know what? Actually, I'll take fans hating me for that.
Yeah, right. You know, so like now you can kind of see his perspective on it, right?
Oh hell yeah! I see where he's coming from.
Interesting, man. On to another topic. There's been a lot on social media about Paul Pogba, also in transfer rumors and stuff. Juve and a bunch of other links. Apparently, he's been in the United States for the summer, for a large portion of the summer. And it has a lot of people chattering. So apparently he went after France got knocked out of what tournament was that? Was that the European Nations tournament or whatever?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was like the Euro tournament. The same one that Antonio Griezmann played in. They got knocked out, and Paul Pogba came over to the United States. He was staying with his brother in Atlanta because his brother, Florentine Pogba, plays for Atlanta United. So he was all over social media, hanging out with the players from Atlanta. He was posting videos in the Atlanta training facilities, doing his workouts and shit. So a lot of people were just like, oh shit, yo, that's crazy how Pogba is over here chilling, in the U.S. But like you said, a lot of players actually come here for vacation.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So it's not irregular to see that. Like I follow like Kareem Benzema. He has a house in Miami, bro. He's chilling on fucking Club Live every weekend. Like we have another story coming up about Jesse Lingard was chilling in Miami. Like these guys do it. They come to the U.S. and I think it's because they can chill here and not be hounded.
Yeah.
Right.
They won't be noticed, essentially. They can come here. Nobody knows who the fuck Jesse Lingard is in Miami. Like, they can just come here and live just a low-key, rich vacation life. And that's what they do. They want to enjoy the glitz and glamour of the big cities. But every big city in Europe or around the world, everyone will notice that.
Yeah, there's media. There's going to be paparazzis here. Everywhere. If Paul Pogba is in a strip club in Atlanta, nobody's really going to know that that's Paul Pogba. So nobody's going to be taking pictures of him and all of that shit.
Exactly. And even if somebody does recognize him, they're going to be like, wait, but why the fuck is Paul Pogba in Atlanta?
Why is he here? No, that's not him, right?
So they're just going to think nothing of it and go about their day.
No, like literally there was video of him in New York. He was running in Central Park. Like with a fucking Pogba, he was wearing an Atlanta United jersey, which was his brother. Pogba on the back, and he was just running up and down Central Park on a big track, and nobody even stopped him. Nobody was even looking at his way. Like nobody in New York knew that you have one of the best fucking footballers in the world right now running the track in Central Park.
Yeah, that's why they come here, and that's why players come to choose to play here as kind of like a retirement, so to speak.
Right. That, you have, all of your players that came over, the Beckhams and the Robbie Keanes and, the David Villas and Pirlo's, Zlatan, Wayne Rooney, right?
Yep.
So which has fueled speculation. Do you think Pogba will ever play in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I could see him coming at the end of his career.
Right. Obviously, he's what? He's 26, 27?
Yeah, I could see him
not right now.
5, 10, not 5, but like in 10 years. Coming to like an LA or like that Miami FC
right,
or whatever.
Miami team.
I could definitely see that Paul Pogba would do that.
Fucking, it was said the other day that Miami was linked with Luis Suarez. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, could you imagine Suarez in Major League Soccer? He'd score 130 goals.
It would be a nightmare for Major League Soccer players.
It would be over, son. Oh my god, so it would be crazy. It was definitely cool to see him interacting with the Atlanta United players. It's probably definitely great for them to, be in the locker room and having Paul Pogba coming and chilling, training with y'all, you know what I'm saying, hanging out with y'all and shit. Yeah. It definitely got to bring up your morale and, your confidence too. Also, it would be great for him to come play in the United States because he's one of the faces of the brand. Nike has put millions of dollars into Paul Pogba. You don't think that they would want to market him in the U.S.?
Oh, they would love it.
It would be dope. So all of these links, and it's looking like he's not opposed to it, which is pretty cool. Maybe I'm biased because I'm an MLS fan and I would love to see him here. But I just thought that was pretty interesting.
I think it would be great for him to come here.
Mm-hmm. But not now. He's probably going to he's going to go Real Madrid or some shit like that. He'll probably be swapped for Gareth Bale or that's like the rumor or whatever. Should be interesting. Matter of fact, we just talked about it. Jesse Lingard. So there was a Snapchat video that went viral a few weeks back. Apparently it was him and some of his friends. They were in Miami for holiday, not vacation, because you're from Europe, so you got to say holiday, right? And so I guess the Snapchat video was of like them checking out of the room, and the room was a mess. Fucking just, they're professional athletes, bro. They're millionaires. They're not cleaning up after themselves. So it's like everything was on the floor. There was like open bottles of alcohol everywhere. He was there with Marcus Rashford too. So like he went into the room, Rashford was like, he was in like his drawers, packing his bag and shit, mad alcohol on the table. And then he goes to his boy's room, one of the guys he grew up with, and he's in the bed like doing some dry humping on one of the pillows. And Lingard is just laughing his ass off. He's 22 years old, 23 years old. You know, like...
I think he's older than that.
Oh, he's older than that? Well, whatever. He's still young. He's fucking got loads of money. He's chilling in Miami with his boys. Like, I didn't think nothing was wrong with the video, but it was apparently a lot of kickback. A lot of people didn't like it. His coaches in particular said that they were going to talk to him when he returned from training. Just because, you know, him and Rashford are like the young nucleus of the team. And Manchester United always has that kind of that snotty attitude, you know what I'm saying? So they're like, oh, you know, you're embarrassing the club for acting like that. And they were cursing and all of that shit and playing mad rap music. They was just being mad ratchet. But they in Miami, son. That's what you do in Miami. You get ratchet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, nothing's wrong with it, but I guess they shouldn't be, as professional athletes, you got to understand, everything you do is under a microscope. So they probably shouldn't have posted all of that shit. Maybe they should have just posted different scenes of their Miami vacation. You know, maybe them, like, just hanging out on the beach. And, you know, maybe playing some soccer on the beach. So that way fans can be like, oh, look, they're at the beach.
Right.
But they're playing soccer. Look at them. But, like, you know, I think for the young kids that look up to them and stuff like that, I think that they probably could have been... Not probably. They definitely should have been smarter about it.
Right. At least clean up the fucking bottles, bro.
Like
y'all got practice in 2 weeks, and you're over here just getting drunk in Miami.
Yeah. Like, you guys got, like, 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids following you, too. So, like... I mean, you don't have to be PG, but, like, you don't need to, like, you know, you don't need to be reckless either and, like, putting off a bad image, so to speak. Just, like, be low-key.
Yeah. But also, like, that goes back into the point that we were talking about before. That's why these guys come over here. Because, look, even shit they post on fucking Snapchat, which is a 15-second video, had weeks worth of coverage from the British tabloids.
That's right.
You know, these guys are literally under a microscope. But also with Lingard, it's not the first time that he's gotten in trouble for posting stuff on Instagram and Snapchat. So I just think he just has to be a little bit more cognizant of who he is and how he's perceived by other people.
Yep.
You know. Also, he got Rashford involved, too. Rashford, apparently, like, he wasn't posting on Instagram and all that, so he kind of got drug into the whole shit because of Jesse Lingard, you know?
Fucking Lingard.
and it's funny that happens to me a couple times, like, because I'm single, so if I go out, you know, I'm posting, you know, like a video of me and my boys in the club or whatever, you know, popping bottles and shit, but they have girlfriends. So then their girlfriends don't know that they're going out to the club, or, you know, they didn't see what was going on in the club, but they saw it on my Snapchat and Instagram feed. So I've had to, you know, remove the public thing from my page, and I've had to, you know, block a couple people. So I get it, but they just got to be a lot smarter, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, that's why I have 2 Instagrams. I have one for me that, you know, my friends, my family, my coworkers have, and then I have the High Press podcast where I post all that ratchet shit. You know, like us smoking weed and, you know, going to the dispensary and all of that, and smoking vapes in the fucking Soldier Field. You know.
Right.
Yeah, man. That shit was funny. Let's see what else we got here. So did you hear the story about Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, Odell wants a change of passion in stadiums, right?
Yeah. So apparently, Odell Beckham, I believe he was somewhere, and they asked him about like the Women's World Cup or Gold Cup or something, and he's actually an avid soccer fan. He was actually offered, I believe, a trial from some European club when he was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
He could have taken a scholarship to join their academy, but he was literally that good. But it was just that his parents didn't want him to, you know, to move to another country away from them at such a young age. So he actually turned down the chance to become a professional soccer player, and he ended up staying in the States, playing football, and he's a multi-millionaire now anyway.
Say it worked out for
him.
him.
I think it worked out pretty good. But so he's like an avid soccer fan, and I think he's really nice too. Like he has videos of him online of him like doing tricks and all of that shit, and he's a super duper athlete. Yep. So like just imagine Odell Beckham on the wing, bro. Odell Beckham next to Pulisic, my nigga, who's guarding that? Like, it's gonna be ridiculous, bro. What could have been? Yeah. But so apparently he said that the NFL environment is not as good as you see in like soccer games and stuff. He says, NFL is sort of corporate, right? A lot of the fans don't necessarily have chance. There's a lot of downtime in NFL games, so there's a lot of opportunities for people to kind of check out and go get drinks, and so people aren't in their seats for the entire time being active and paying attention to the game, as opposed to soccer where literally everybody is in tune for 45 minutes. You take your little 15, 20-minute piss break at halftime, and then you come back for the next 45 minutes.
Yep, and it's like you're dialed in. 45 break, 45.
You're there. Everybody's chancing.
There's no stoppage during the 45 minutes either. No timeout breaks. It's just straight through, so you don't have a chance to not be dialed in.
Yeah, and he says that he would love for the NFL to kind of, or NFL fans to kind of adapt that passion, I guess, for the game.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done because, like, you see it in the college game. Like, the college fans are pretty crazy.
Lit, bro. Go to a fucking Alabama or University of Michigan game or something.
Any one of those games.
100,000 people in the stands bugging.
Yeah, so it can be done, but I just don't. The NFL is like, it'll be hard because it's such a family atmosphere. But even in Europe, like, the games are family atmosphere. Families go to games, and the atmosphere is just on a whole nother level. Even when we were at the Mexico-U.S. game, like, I've been to a bunch of football games. I've been to Jets games. I've been Eagles games, which I guess Eagles would probably be the craziest fans, maybe you would say. But not even them even come close to what was at the Gold Cup final.
Not even close.
Last night,
Yeah, it was a totally different atmosphere. But I also think it's because the NFL caters to a corporate, fan base. They have a lot of VIP suites, and a lot of stadiums are actually reducing the number of regular seats because really fans, they have so many options now. They don't go to games with like NFL Sunday Ticket and all of that.
It's true.
It's better and it's cheaper for you to stay home and watch the game as opposed to like somebody from us. We're Jets fans, right? We live in New York. The Jets play in Jersey. It would take us 2 hours to drive from New York to Jersey with all the traffic and shit. You go, you do your little pregame, whatever. You go to the game for 3 hours, and then it takes you 3-4 hours to get back home. Bro, you literally missed the entire slate of football, just to go to one game. When you have something like Red Zone where you can watch the 1 o'clock games, you can watch the 4 o'clock games, and then still watch, all the late night shit. And your day hasn't been spent in fucking traffic.
Yeah, and then even then, the atmosphere won't be anywhere near what you'll get at a soccer match.
Yeah, no, because they're pricing out the real fans. Soccer tickets, even in this country, they're still fairly cheap. Like, I go to MLS games all the time because I can get $15, $20 tickets.
Yeah.
You can't do that in the NFL. You're paying $100 a pop, and those are nosebleeds.
Yep.
So that's also factors into why it's not as loud and the fans aren't as vocal because they're not really fans. They're just people that want to be at the game and so that they can record a fucking Instagram video, and then go back to their normal lives. Yep. The real fans are at home, bro, or in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Drinking and shit, Mm-hmm. I just thought in the bars. Yeah, I just thought that was a pretty cool point of view from a professional football player, because football is considered, God in America.
It is. Yeah.
It's God. Like, it's literally it's bigger than church. Like, Sundays used to be for church, not anymore. Sundays are for football.
Yep. And Saturdays in some part of the country too.
Yeah, exactly, for college. So it was just interesting to hear that. I also do think that him speaking about it like that kind of brings a lot more attention to soccer in the United States.
Yeah.
He's a big, he's a big public figure. He got like over 1 million followers on Instagram. He's always in the news. He plays he just got traded. Where does he play? Yeah, he plays in the Browns, but he was on the Giants. The Giants are like, a big franchise, and all of that. So he has a lot of cachet. So what he says kind of sticks sometimes,
Definitely.
Which was pretty cool to hear. Speaking of somebody with a lot of cachet, well, it used to be good cachet. Now it's more about washed up cachet, but that's probably why he retired. So Fernando Torres, ex-Chelsea man, right? Ex-Liverpool man, ex-Atletico Madrid man.
Yep.
Now, where does he play now? Doesn't he play in China? Yeah, he plays in China. So he announced that he's going to retire at the end of this season. I believe he's like 32, 33 years old, which is crazy to me. That I thought fucking Fernando Torres was at least 40 years old, bro.
Yeah,
he's been playing for a long time.
Playing for a long time since he's been on the big stage since he was like 19, 20 years old. So he's been around for a while and had a great career,
He scored over 255 career goals. He won a World Cup and a European title with Spain. He also won the Champions League. He won Europa with Chelsea. Like, he's won various leagues several times. Like, he's a big-time player, especially, firsthand because you're a Liverpool fan. Oh, yeah. So you saw Fernando Torres at Liverpool was a killer, bro.
Yeah, Fernando Torres, Liverpool years for Fernando Torres were probably his prime years, And, man, he was one of the best strikers in the world.
He was a killer, son. You did not want him attacking your goal with fucking 5 minutes left. He's burying that shit.
Yeah, scoring goals left and right, scored big goals for Liverpool. The guy did it, and him and Steven Gerrard had a great partnership with each other, and I just think his Liverpool career didn't end on a positive note, right? Being that he kind of just left for Chelsea out of nowhere, to a rival nonetheless. But towards the end, I think, he came back for Steven Gerrard's testimonial match, and things ended well, and they sang his song, and he rode off on a high note with Liverpool fans. And I think overall, granted, it didn't end so well with Chelsea. He just all of a sudden when he got to Chelsea, just fell off of a cliff.
And then he went over to Atletico Madrid.
Atletico had a little bit of a renaissance.
But he wasn't really that great over there.
Yeah, he had like one season where he played well, but that was pretty much it.
And then he went over to fucking China for big money, and he was just in obscurity. Nobody saw him play.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people heard Fernando Torres retired, and a lot of people were like, I thought he was retired.
Yeah, I thought so too. But the guy has had a great career, and he scored lots of goals. There was a point where he was one of the top 3 strikers in the world. So
definitely, and it's funny because there was a lot of talk about him coming to Major League Soccer, because his he probably wanted to leave China, and he couldn't hack it at the top leagues anymore, but he could come over to MLS and still do a job.
That would have been nice.
But he said no, he's going to retire and hang out with his family and reap all of that fucking money that he's made over his career.
Yeah. Fair play to him, Fernando. Always loved the years you gave me as a Liverpool supporter.
Yeah, fuck Fernando Torres, because he used to kill Everton, son.
Yeah, Fernando was a beast.
Kill Everton. I used to hate
El Nino.
I used to hate him when he had the long hair.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That was prime Torres.
He was such a bitch. I hated him. But, man, shout out to Fernando, man. Speaking of another person that people think is a bitch, Mike Ashley, the owner of Newcastle United, fans are not happy with him right now.
No,
well, they haven't been.
So.
They haven't been
Fuck
happy with him for years.
This guy's a piece of shit.
Okay, would you like to elaborate?
Look at him. The guy fucking somehow lands a world-class coach in Rafa Benitez. Benitez wants to stay. First of all, you have a world-class coach that wants to stay at your team.
The guy has coached at Chelsea. He's coached at Real Madrid.
Liverpool. He won the Champions League with Liverpool. He won a Europa League with Chelsea.
He was in Serie A for a while.
Napoli. He brought Napoli back up and playing well. Got them playing great football. So the guy's a world-class coach, and he wanted to be at Newcastle, who's not by any stretch of the imagination a top team.
Well, so they're a big club. They're a huge club historically, but they're a middle tier
and
team.
Have been for the last
20 years, 30 years.
Yeah. So the fact that you got this guy wanting to stay, he is very close with the fans. The fans love him. He's embraced the city. He's embraced the club, the culture, all of it. And you don't give him anything, any support. So he's gone. And that's been the story of Mike Ashley. He just takes money from the club, lines his own pockets or his other businesses with that money, and doesn't invest any money back into the club. So, yeah, fuck this guy.
Fans have been clamoring for years for him to sell the club. Apparently, he says he's not opposed to it, but, he just has to have a bid that he feels is suitable, for him to sell the club. He's not like a big soccer fan, I don't think either. So he just was a guy that struck a rich in business, bought a team for cheap, and said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna see how this plays out."
Yep.
And he hasn't splashed cash. He's been real cheap. The only guy he splashed cash on, which was kind of weird, was a guy from MLS, Miguel Almiron. He broke the transfer fee for Newcastle. I believe the last highest transfer fee was for Newcastle. What was the guy's name? Michael something. He was like a Premier League. He was like a played for England or whatever. I forgot.
Michael Owen?
Yeah, Michael Owen. Michael Owen. It was like $11 million, like in like 90 something, right? That was or 2000. It was a big fucking deal. He spent $22 million on Miguel Almiron and bought nothing else after that.
They had some decent players too that they could have built off of too,
Solomon Rondon, Matt Ritchie,
Iosi Perez. Nice.
Well, they actually just also another reason why a lot of the club is mad at him is because him and Miguel Almiron, he actually turned really lively when Almiron got in the team, because Almiron is more of a counter-attacker, and he can kind of facilitate in an offense, which allowed Iosi Perez to kind of play off Almiron, and he started playing a lot better. And the club just sold him $30 million. He'll be going to Leicester City. So a lot of the clubs are like, yes, we sold him for $30 million, but he's not going to fucking buy $30 million worth of players. And that's why Mike Ashley has to leave. He has to go.
He should sell the club.
Also, in regards to Miguel Almiron, a lot of people were saying that Real Madrid had scouts on him at the Copa America tournament. So Almiron might actually get sold this year or next year for like $50-60 million, and Ashley is just going to pocket all that money too.
Fuck Mike Ashley.
So it's ridiculous. It's getting to the point where something has to be done. The English federation has to step in or something, because it's getting ugly, man. They're like protesting and shit. They have like fans signing petitions for Mike Ashley to sell the club, and it's just ugly, bro.
It's a mess.
It's ugly. Also, another mess I got. So, have you heard of this story about Notts County?
The Notts County, that old one of the founders.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So apparently, Notts County, who was one of the original founders of the Football League. So in Britain, they consider the Football League the Premier League, the Championship, League One, and then League Two. That's the football league that they consider it, right? That's where, like, the promotion and relegation happens. But England has, I think they have, like, up to 10 fucking leagues. They got, like, League 5, and then they have, like, the Northern League and, like, the National League and so on and so forth. but they were one of the original founding clubs. I believe they were founded in 1862. So they've been around for 150-something years, which is ridiculous. They've never dropped below League Two. They were in League Two last year, and they actually got relegated. So this is the first time ever that Notts County is not going to be in the top 4 leagues of Britain, and it was big news, especially because how it happened was apparently the owner bought a lot of expensive players that weren't really that good. So what happened was, yeah, exactly, right? So basically what happened was that he bought a lot of, expensive guys they used to play in a couple leagues higher, right? Guys that played in the championship, guys that played in League One or whatever, trying to bring the team back up. But it just turned out to be a whole dumpster fire, and they actually got relegated. Now they have about 35 players on the team, and their wage bill is about $3 million, which is ridiculous for a fifth-tier, team in English soccer. They're actually trying to sell off a lot of those high-value players, but they can't because it's a Gareth Bale situation. Nobody wants to take on their existing contracts at the wages that they're receiving now. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of fucked right now. They're not going to make any money. Granted, they do get the parachute payment or whatever that from dropping down a league, but it's not going to cover the expenses, and they might actually be forced into administration for the first time ever.
It's sad, It's a poor situation for the fans. But hopefully someone buys them and, brings them to glory again. Like, you're seeing a lot of these sleeping giants, so to speak, being bought up by rich people or sports conglomerates. So, maybe something happens with Notts County. I mean, they're out of the football league in England, so... Yeah. Maybe we can pool together some high press nation. And buy this team.
Everybody toss us $20 on his GoFundMe, and we gonna buy Notts County right now. Especially because now it seems like the owner is being forced into selling the team after he posted a nude picture on social media. So apparently, I believe he took a screenshot of something of his photo gallery, and I think he posted it to social media. But then in the bottom little squares, there was a picture of his dick or something. So people took he deleted the image, but people caught on fast enough, and it went, and now he embarrassed the club and he screwed up with the finances. So everybody just wants him to sell the team. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start a high press GoFundMe. Everybody send us $20, and we about to buy Notts County.
Right.
We promise we won't buy no weed with it. All right.
Yeah.
We already got weed. Don't worry about it.
No, we're gonna buy the club, and it'll be a team for the fans, by the fans.
It'll be like yo. Are you familiar with hashtag United?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not familiar with hashtag United, bro? All right, watch after this podcast. I'm gonna show you on YouTube, and so hashtag United. It was I guess a club that started in the bottom tier of football. It was basically like a Sunday league club of this guy. I forgot what his name is, but I think he got famous on like YouTube or whatever. So him and his boys, they all love soccer. So he said, "Fuck it, I have the money to fund the team. We don't need any sponsors. Like I get money off of my YouTube channel. I'll create the team." So he paid all the league fees. He bought all the jerseys. He rented the stadium and shit.
Cool.
And it's called hashtag United for social media because it started on Twitter. And they've fucking gotten 4 promotions in the last 5 years, and they're playing in I think the 6th tier of football. So they actually have a professional team, and they have a Sunday league too. I think they recently either just took over the lease of a stadium in their city. So shit like this is actually happening, yo. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty dope. I believe Leeds United was just taken over by some big money, right? And that's why they were able to get Bielsa and sign a couple of the players and shit like that. So what's happening, man? Yo, you know what? Yeah, fuck this. Let's make this High Press podcast team, man.
That's right.
Bijan, you gonna coach. I'm gonna be the marketer. I'm gonna just go around just giving out mad weed to people, and they're gonna love our team. That's it.
Yeah, instead of beers at halftime,
Nah, fuck
joints.
It. Joints at halftime, yeah, man. Yo, it already they already have a cannabis sponsor in them in USL, the Las Vegas Lights. They're sponsored by a dispensary and thing. And there's actually other teams, like there's teams in like the NBA and shit, that they're thinking about taking sponsorship money from like medical marijuana companies.
Why not?
I mean, they already take money from from gambling shit too, you know?
Yeah, so same shit.
Money's all green, bro.
That's right.
It's all green. We were actually talking about it yesterday because if you ever been to a stadium recently, you know there's people selling shit outside of the stadium, right? They got beers and coolers. Like if it's USA versus Mexico, there was people with, Mexico jerseys, Mexico hats or whatever, sombreros. But there was a lot of people that only had Mexico stuff. And I asked one of the guys, because we were looking for like a T-shirt and some flags and shit to go into the stadium. And I asked one of the guys, I was like, yo, bro, do you have anything for the U.S.? And he looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, I mean, well, first of all, I get you're rooting for Mexico and all that, but if you really want to make money, bro, like, you should have some U.S. shit too. Like, all money is green, bro. You know?
Right.
And then it turns out that there was actually this one Spanish lady that had some U.S. shit. So you bought a little flag from her, and then you saw that she had a bigger flag, and you literally had that shit draped on you the whole game.
Rocking our flag.
Well, you look like Captain America with that shit on, bro. It was dope. It just sucks that we fucking lost the game, but whatever, man. Yo, go check that out on the next podcast. So let's see. We talked about Griezmann and Neymar. We talked about Mike Ashley being a dickhead. We talked about the Notts County owner sending cock pics and them dropping leagues. What else I got? A couple transfers in the news recently. So let's just run through these real quick and then we'll call it a show.
Sounds good.
All right.
Do it.
So we talked about him in the last podcast. We said clubs were going to be coming at him because he had a great showing in the Copa America. Mr. Everton from Gremio has been linked with a move to AC Milan. 40 million euros for Gremio. That's a lot of money for a Brazilian team.
That's right.
A lot of money.
Well, he had a big Gold Cup, so he turned a lot of heads.
And he's been the best player in the Brazilian league for the past couple seasons anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's a one-time wonder. He is a little older, though. He is already 27 years old. So he's never been tested outside of Brazil, which normally doesn't have the highest quality of play. So $40 million for him is a little risky, but his performance in Copa America, I think, has proved to teams that he can actually do the job.
Yeah, he can step up and play when the pressure's on.
He's been killing people in Copa, so, it's funny. AC Milan actually just sold a couple of players and stuff, so they have money to spend. They're also traditionally one of the bigger teams in Italy anyway. So it'll be interesting to see if Everton actually makes that move to Gremio. I want Everton to buy Everton. Because he's exactly what we need. He's a left winger that attacks people and scores goals. Everton need guys that score goals. And this guy would kill in the Premier League. His speed and his technical ability, he'd be a nightmare for any right back in the league. Yeah. Imagine him playing Man United versus fucking Valencia. Like, he'll kill that nigga, bro.
Yeah, he would. His game is definitely suited for that. He's a tough player. He's got the skills. I think he'll be successful pretty much anywhere he goes, to be honest with you. If
he goes to Serie A, that's usually a slow league. I think he bang goals in left and right over there in Serie A. So we'll see. That's one of the more recent news. Also, in recent news, speaking of AC Milan, their goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma has been linked with PSG. For a few months. Donnarumma is one of the best young goalkeepers in the world. I believe he's like 20 years old, 21.
Yeah, he's young. Very
something
young.
Like that.
He's been starting since he was like 17.
Yeah, he's been starting for a Serie A club, like in fucking Champions League and Europa and shit when he was a teenager. Apparently he's been linked with PSG, but AC Milan brass came out and said that they're not looking to sell him.
Yeah, apparently he came out, or his camp came out and said he doesn't want to leave. So I don't think there's any much to that.
Right, he's Italian. He grew up at that club.
Yeah, it's his boyhood club. It's hard to get an Italian out of Italy.
It really is though. Why is that? Do you think?
It's just they're just tied to their country, and it's kind of the way it is. It's Germany. It's very similar too. It's hard to get a German out of Germany. It's just the way those two countries are set up. They just even the British. You don't really see that many British players out playing outside of the Premier League.
Yeah, that's true.
They try to keep their brand. Germany and Italy especially, they try to keep their teams and their talent within the nation, and that way they develop their own players for their national team and all of that.
Right, that's more what I think it is. I think those kids that grow up idolizing the Serie A clubs and the Italian national team, I think they feel their best way to get on the team is by making noise at home.
Yeah. And it generally is, and it's not like the Italian teams and the German teams are bad. They're going to be playing competitive, and like you were saying, that's who these kids grew up idolizing. Donnarumma grew up being a Milan fan, so for him the dream has always been to
Milan.
Play for Milan.
Right. He doesn't give a shit about PSG.
Yeah, now he's playing for Milan, and they're paying him a shit ton of money, so he's living out his dream, and that's what all these young German, his dream is to play for Munich. So when he gets signed by Red Bull Leipzig or whatever, and he plays and Munich comes calling and Real Madrid comes calling, well, yeah, Real Madrid is great, but Munich was the club that he
right. He'd lean more towards Munich, and Bayern is coming for anybody that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Bayern does.
Yeah.
They fucking poach talent from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dortmund hates them. RB hates them. Fucking every single team in the league has lost somebody to Munich before. What else we got? Let's shift over to the Premier League. Manchester United obviously have been in transfer talks with everybody. They recently just got rid of Ander Herrera. Pogba has been on the exit for a year already now. Apparently, they're the front runners for Sporting CP winger or forward, I believe, Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes, there you go. That's how you do it.
Whatever.
He had an awesome season in Portugal. 30 goals, 14 assists.
He's going to be a hot commodity.
Beast, bro. Beast. Tottenham were the favorites, I think, to land him, but they have to sell Christian Eriksen first in order to get the money to sell him, just because of financial fair play and all of that stuff like that. Which is weird to me because Tottenham didn't buy a player last year, so you would think that their books are a little bit more aligned. But I think it's that they have to sell somebody before they can bring somebody else in.
I'm not really sure how FFP works. I think it's always changing, to be honest with you. But I know Tottenham was also supposedly strapped for cash with the new stadium that they were building.
Because didn't they fund it? They funded a portion of it out of their own the club.
Yeah, I think the club funded a lot of it.
I
think that may have to do with why they might need to sell off some players before their books are looking okay to buy more. But they've been buying players this summer, that's for sure.
Yeah. Matter of fact, speaking of Tottenham, I believe they've recently been linked with Giovanni Lo Celso from Real Betis. I believe either him or his representatives kind of came out to the media and said they're waiting for Tottenham to come in and swoop and take the player. Apparently, Real Betis aren't opposed to selling him. It seems that Spanish clubs are a lot more willing to sell their players, right, than most leagues. Which is great. I mean, to me, I love when players test themselves in new leagues and all of that shit. It's cool for a guy to stay like 10 years in one league, but shit gets stale after a while,
Yeah.
So supposedly Real Betis, he had a great season for them. I believe he's Argentinian, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he was playing Copa America.
He was playing Copa America. The ones that lost, that choked against Brazil. That's not me smoking weed. That's Lionel Messi choking again in a game that matters. Anyway. But so apparently Real Betis are asking for 70 mil, and they're firm on that.
Oof,
That's a lot of money for Lo Celso. He is good, but
you're not that good.
Right. I don't know if he's worth the 70 mil. But basically, Real Betis, the reason they're holding firm to that price tag is because they bought him from PSG. And PSG owns a 20% stake of his sell-on fee. So they want to get as much money as they can because Real Betis, they're kind of a small club. So they have to replace his productivity.
Sure.
And if you're going to lose 20% off the rip, you're not going to get a player of his caliber. So they'd prefer not to sell him unless they get an exorbitant fee. And that exorbitant amount is $70 million. So it's interesting. We'll see if Tottenham actually bites. If they prefer to go for Bruno Fernandes, who should be cheaper, right?
Yeah, usually coming from the Portuguese
league.
Yeah.
You can get some. Well, now maybe not with that João Felix shit.
Yeah, but
120. Yeah, but he's exceptional. Yeah, he's the exception to the rule, not the majority. So that'll be interesting. Going back to Manchester United, recently they've been linked with Bakayoko, the former. Well, he's still on Chelsea's books. He was on loan at AC Milan this season, and he had a great season at AC Milan. Now, why Chelsea would sell somebody like this is beyond me. Like, Chelsea's fucking transfer strategy is just so weird. They have 40 guys out on loan. These guys, they have some of the best young talent in the world, and they never put them into the first team.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Fucking Bakayoko can't sniff first-team football. He goes to AC Milan, and he's one of the best midfielders in the league, bro. He was the man of the match more times than any AC Milan player on the season. It was 4. He led the league in duels won and interceptions, and he was second in the league in most outfield recoveries, most possessions won, and most tackles won. He was clearly one of the best midfielders in the league, and Chelsea is not going to give him a sniff. They would rather sell him off to linked with Man United, PSG, or the Gunners.
Well, I will say the reason I think he's not getting a sniff is because Conte plays that position. So I think that's probably why maybe they are hesitant, or the previous coaches were hesitant to go with 2 defensive midfielders. Because I think Bakayoko is more of a defensive player.
Yeah, he's a destroyer, bro. If you've seen him play, he's an animal. He's like 6'3", like 200 pounds solid. He's a big boy. Conte is not as physical as Bakayoko. Conte is slighter of frame, but they play the same way. Coming in, they will smash you. And they're a destroyer in that midfield.
So I think that's probably why he's had some trouble getting into the first team. Because you're not going to take Conte's spot because Conte's a lock.
I mean, but wouldn't you want a kind of a backup?
Sure.
Also, Chelsea have the transfer ban looming, so you might not be able to sell too many of these guys if you can't replace them off the transfer market.
I would definitely keep him as a backup or rotation.
Could it be that he just makes an exorbitant amount of money and they just want to get his wages off the book? If he's going to be a backup, they say, fuck it, we might as well get somebody else in that makes a lot less money and they'll be our backup, as opposed to paying this guy $150,000 a week and him playing 15 games.
Could be. I don't really know too much what, again, like you were saying, we don't really understand what Chelsea's plan is with that board. We don't know what their transfer philosophy is. They just seem to buy whoever they can at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird, but so apparently he's considered a flop at Chelsea, but I don't think you can consider him a flop if he's never got opportunities. Exactly. Like, how can you consider a guy a flop if the fucking coaches just won't play him?
Yeah, Salah was considered a flop.
Exactly.
De Bruyne was considered a flop.
Exactly, bro. And now look at them. They're some of the best players in the league.
They just weren't getting looks.
So they bought him for $40 million, and obviously they're asking for more than that. They're trying to recoup the money off of a great season, so they'll probably be asking for 50, 60. Apparently, AC Milan are not interested in keeping him. One, because his price tag is too high, and also he had a falling out with the coach. He was late to training a couple times. He was fined, and he got benched a couple times. Yo, you know who their coach is? He's the guy that has the meme when he was at the press conference. Sometimes we gotta good, sometimes we gotta shit.
Gattuso's a gangster. He's a Milan legend.
He's a wild boy, right?
Yeah. He was a hard-nosed player.
He was a wild fucking boy, man. So let's see what else we got. I thought this was interesting. Milinkovic-Savic, who was the darling of like the transfer market last year, every big club was linked with him. He plays for Lazio. He's a Serbian national, right? And apparently Lazio wanted $130 million last year for him,
insane,
which is ridiculous. $130 million, and nobody would come knocking with the price tag. So he goes back to Lazio. He plays, and he doesn't really play well. He actually has a pretty bad season. He was exposed a little bit. And now that they are willing to sell him for some money because they're cash strapped, they can't sell him or they can, but that they're not going to get that 130 that they were asking for last year. Not. It'll probably be closer to more 70, 80, and they could have gotten 100 from Real Madrid last year if they would have just pulled the trigger.
Yep, but hey, sometimes greed, takes it. And Savic just had one good season.
One good season, right? It's not
that's why
exactly.
They didn't want to pay that, obviously. So they kind of got ahead of themselves, and thought they had more than what they did, I guess, in the player.
They bit off a little bit more than they can chew, and now they might be stuck with him and can't sell him. And I think Lazio had a bad season. I think they finished like 7th or 8th in the league.
Great season.
I don't think they qualified for any of the European tournaments. So they're going to take a hit, in the purse for that. I think that's why they wanted to sell Savic, so that they can make some of that money and kind of refresh the team. Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Does not.
And if they do, it's going to be a bargain bin price. Somebody's going to get him for $60 million, and he's going to go and be amazing, and Lazio are going to regret selling him. So, we'll see. One that actually hit close, two that hit close for me, being a Everton supporter. So today we were turned down. I believe we made a $30 million bid for Moise Kean from Juventus, the 19-year-old Italian striker.
Yeah, he's nice.
I love the fact that Everton made a bid for him. That's the type of guy that we need at Everton. A young kid with talent that is hungry and wants to prove himself, bro. Everton have, year after year brought these journeyman guys in that can do a job, but they never get us over the hump. Why? It's because, they're complacent, right? They're, in the middle of their career, sometimes on the down end of their career. Guys like Theo Walcott, guys like Ashley Young, guys like Sandro. Well, Sandro was only 24 years old, but Cenk Tosin, bringing in guys that are okay, I guess he's a good player, but this is the fucking guy that you're going to build your team around? No, but Moise Kean, he's one of those players.
Yeah. Richarlison, he's one of those players.
Richarlison is one of those players. Andre Gomez looks like he could potentially be one of those players. Gylfi Sigurdsson, we paid a lot of money for him, but he's proven to be worth every single penny that we paid.
So I think they just need to. Hopefully they can get that here. They're in the run-in for Malcolm too. So,
they're right. We talked about it before.
If they can seal up, one of those or even both, they're looking real good.
But to be honest with you, I would prefer Keane, bro. I would prefer Keane. One, because he's younger. He's 19 years old, and he's a striker. We need a striker. Richarlison is better as a winger, so I want Richarlison on the right wing. I would take somebody on the left, but we can put Bernard there. We can slide Gylfi Sigurdsson out. Theo Walcott, if he has to, can play on the left. We don't have anybody up front, bro. We need a talisman. Malcolm would just be another winger on a team full of wingers. We got fucking 40 guys on the books at Everton. Half of them niggas is wingers. We got guys that were loaned for the past 2 seasons. We got Balassi still on the books. We got Kevin Morales still on the books. People of Vlasic, they just sold him to CSK Moscow, but he was on the books. Then we have our regular guys. Theo Walcott, fucking Calvert-Lewin. We got Bernard. just a bunch of wingers that don't really do anything. I think Malcolm would be another one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done much for Barcelona, but I think he would be a nice addition. I think that if they can land both, I think that's what Everton should look to do, but I don't know what their financial situation is.
We have money. We have the cash. Also, it was recently reported that we just received a $22.5 million bid for youngster Ademola Lookman, talented young winger. Again, another winger on our books. You see, this is why we don't need Malcolm. So we bought Ademola Lookman from Charlton for about, I believe it was like $12 million. He's played about 35 games for Everton, but he just never really seems to crack the lineup. He's great technically. He's good athletic. He's just very small. Like, he's little. He's like 5'7", bro. He's a little guy. And I think the rigors of the Premier League are a little bit hard for him. We actually loaned him out to RB Leipzig last year during the January transfer window, and he did great for them. I think he played like 10 games. He scored 3 goals. He had 4 assists. The coaches said after the season that they wanted to bring him back. They originally offered us $13 million to keep him, to buy him permanently from the loan, and Everton said no. Everton apparently told Lookman and his people, hey, come back to the team. Marco Silva will give you another opportunity. He'll give you another look. And if you still feel that you want to leave, then we'll sell you when we get a better offer. So maybe this $22.5 million is a better offer. It'll be a $10 million in profit, right? It'll get another guy off the books that possibly won't crack the starting lineup, especially if we buy a guy like Malcolm.
Yeah, they can use that money.
We can use that money, right, to bring in to add another 10 to Moise Kean. Maybe Juve will take 40 instead of 30, right?
Yeah.
Speaking back of Kean, how much do you think would be his price tag of the player he is and of his age and his caliber?
I think
what do you think would be a suitable?
Probably like the 60 million, yeah. I think
that much?
Right around there, yeah.
Ugh.
I think he's a young player that has a lot of potential surrounding him. He's 19.
60 mil though? He doesn't really play that much.
No, but I think at that age you're paying for
the potential.
And that's what you're doing.
But that's where you run into trouble too.
Yeah, it's a gamble. No one's not saying it is a gamble, but he's on Juventus right now, and he does get play. He plays every now and then, and Juventus is one of the top teams in the world. So.
He's also great for the youth setups for his country. He's one of the best players in the Italian youth setups. Yeah,
so I think those things considered, you're going to pay
around 60.
You're going to have to pay to get him.
Yeah, so that 30 mil seems like a low ball offer. But you know what? You never know. Maybe another 10. Maybe another maybe add on a sellback clause. Maybe give them right of first refusal if we do sell him on in 3 or 4 years or whatever. But we'll see. I think we talked about it. Was it on? See, we're doing back-to-back shows, so I don't remember which show was what. But Leicester City just bought Yuri Tillemans for, I believe it was 40 million pounds. That breaks the club transfer fee. Yuri Tillemans was on loan at Leicester City from Monaco. Monaco bought him for 23 mil a couple seasons ago. He never really meshed with the team. They loaned him out, and he played great for Leicester City. He was a good complement to James Maddison. So I think they wanted to kind of keep that, and he's young. I think he's like 22 years old.
Yeah, I think it's Leicester's doing some big things.
They are. They signed Jose Perez. Yeah.
They signed some other dudes, so they're making some moves.
They already have a Damari Gray. They still got Vardy, who's still a viable option, and they're definitely good. And it kind of scares me because they're one of Everton's we're at the same level, right? We're competing for the same spots.
Premier League is a tough league, man. It's 1 through 10 they're tough.
1 through 10, yeah. It's tough to crack the top 10, and we're that 6 through 10. We're fighting for those spots, right? It's us, Wolves, Leicester, West Ham. Yeah. Watford is also usually in that kind of ballpark. Newcastle
sometimes,
right? So it'll be interesting. That Leicester City definitely kind of re-up with Jose Perez and Yuri Tillemans. But to me, that's a lot of money for those two guys. That's $70 million between them. And to be honest with you, Yuri Tillemans is good. His production, I'll grant it, his production doesn't show up on the stat sheet, right? He does other things well. He keeps possession. His vision is good. He's usually the guy that's setting up the pass that leads to the goal.
Yeah, you always need those players.
He's a good defender as well. Just like I said, he goes good with James Maddison. He complements Maddison's weaknesses and vice versa. I think Jose Perez for $30 million was a lot of money, though.
Yeah. But he's a good player, and you're playing the Premier League price tag.
Right,
Premier League to Premier League. So
he is 26 or 27.
Add $10 million to what it really is, and that's what you get.
So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I think Jose Perez benefited a lot from Miguel Almiron, but James Maddison, I believe, is on the caliber, if not better than Miguel Almiron.
I think Jose Perez will do well.
We'll see. We'll see. We already talked about Giovanni Lo Celso. We talked about Everton to Malcolm to Everton. There's been a couple big moves to China. Stefan El Shawari from Roma and Marko Arnautovic complete big money signings to Shanghai in China. I believe Shawari's fee was $18 million, and I don't know how much Marko Arnautovic was, but I'm assuming it's around the same price.
Yeah. So China's a good league to be going to for these guys. Get paid.
Yeah, they're getting banked.
I would go to China over the MLS. These guys are paying way more.
Yeah, they're getting banked, bro. These guys are paying fucking absorbent amount of money for guys that are like over the hill. Still, Arnautovic is still a productive player. He is on the other side of 30 though. Shawari moving over there kind of is a little surprising to me. I think he still has some left in the tank. I don't even think he's 30 yet. So for him to move over to China to kind of,
But he's going to get paid, and that's why he's doing it.
Yeah, you're right. But guys like that, he hasn't been involved in the national team much recently. You would think that he would want to stay in the vision of, of his national team coach if he gets called up.
Maybe he knows. Maybe he's done with it. Maybe, he can see the writing on the wall on the national team, and he's just like, let me get paid before I'm done.
I still think El Shawari is a very good player, though. Technically, he's filthy. Matter of fact, I have him on one of my FIFA teams. His skill level is a 5.
Yeah,
I always be dribbling with him and all of that shit. What do they call him? They call him the Pharaoh, right?
Yeah.
Because he's
Egyptian blood,
but he's Italian.
Yep.
Yeah. So China splashing big money. I believe we talked about it on one of the other podcasts, but China's the clubs are subsidized by the government. The government usually pays these transfer fees because the president of China is a big soccer fan, and he wants the club to be he wants the country to start producing more players. So he wants to get the quality of the Chinese league, up. So they're literally paying transfer fees for guys like fucking Alexander Pato and Xavi, I believe, is over there. Now El Shawari. Torres was over there for a while. Yeah. They got a bunch of Brazilians too. Didn't not Fernandinho, the other one.
Paulinho was there, yeah.
Paulinho was over there. I think he plays on the Shanghai team.
I think Hulk is over there.
Hulk, yes, you're right.
I think so.
He used to play in obscurity in Russia. Now he plays in obscurity in
Hulk is getting probably one of the richest players ever.
Yo, what happened? Actually, that is what happened. Nobody's seen him play before. Hulk was one of the fucking dudes from a couple of those Brazil squads back in the day, right?
He was very important on the.
He was
Brazil
a beast,
Cup
yo.
teams, yeah.
They call him Hulk because that nigga was
he
was brolic as hell, rocking people off. Wow, that's a blast from the past. I haven't heard about Hulk for a minute. I'm actually about to go on YouTube and check some of his highlights and shit. I want to see if he still got it. Should be interesting. And since we were speaking of Roma, I guess the last transfer rumor I got on this is Leon Bailey, Jamaica's very own, Leon Bailey is rumored to be a possible replacement for Stefan El Shaarawy. Bayern Leverkusen have slapped a $40 million price tag on the Jamaican international. Leon Bailey recently just made his debut for Jamaica in the Gold Cup. He had held off on being called up for Jamaica because he wanted the Jamaican Federation to make some improvements. He also wanted his father to be involved in like the national team setup. So he kind of held himself hostage until they gave into his demands. Also, he also thought there was a possible call up for Germany because I believe he gets his German citizenship like next year or the year after that. And he's still only 21 years old, I think. So he you know what I'm saying? So he could have potentially made it onto the Germany team if they would have called him up. So I think he kind of left his options open. But now that's over. He's cap-tied now to Jamaica. He had a pretty decent Gold Cup. He didn't really... So before the Gold Cup, I put out a poll on Twitter asking who the best player in CONCACAF is. Is it Leon Bailey? Is it Christian Pulisic? Is it Chucky Lozano? Or is it Raul Jimenez? The poll was overwhelmingly Leon Bailey, which I thought was a little weird. I thought Christian Pulisic was still the best player. But a lot of people seem to rate Leon Bailey. And you know what? He plays great for Bayern Leverkusen. Him and Kai Havertz are probably their best players. So it's interesting to see Leverkusen putting a price tag on him. I wouldn't think that they would want to sell him, but I mean, I guess they bought him from Genk for like $13 million. So if they get 40 for him now, you know, that's a nice little chunk of change profit. So it'll be interesting to see if he does actually make that switch to Serie A. Before we leave out, so you think Pulisic is the best player in
I think so.
Right? Even better than Chucky, even better than Raul Jimenez, who kind of sank us yesterday?
Yeah, I still give it to Pulisic. I think he just has less supporting cast than some of the Mexican players do.
Right. They do have better people around them to make them better. Who would you say is the best Mexican player? Would you say Raul or would you give it to Chucky?
I'll give it to Jimenez. Maybe,
really?
Yeah.
Jimenez?
Pizarro is also a really good player for them. So, you know,
Claudio Pizarro.
Can't count him out as well. They have a good team.
To be honest with you, I still think the best Mexican is Carlos Vela, but we ain't even gonna talk about that because he wasn't on the Gold Cup team, and I think he said he's retiring from international soccer or whatever. But yeah, man, so we at 122 right now. We gave y'all 2 hours worth of content today. We about to roll up another joint, probably go get some food and just chill out. I fly back home to New York tomorrow. So I just want to thank Bijan for his hospitality. You know, I came in, crashed on his couch and shit. You know, he been taking me out on the city, showing me the best pizza spots and all of that. So thank you, brother. Thank you for being hospitable to your boy.
That's what's up. And
you know,
what we love doing these podcasts for you, High Press Nation. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content. And we'll be back for another one.
We out, y'all. Peace.
Double up, man, I'm trying to add zeros. Them man there for the other win, but we got it last minute, man, I feel like Aguero. Long time I've been dishing out CVs. Back down, I speak to a boss. And my young bro linking these girls, now he pissed, he got make up on his Fendi top. I'm on route to a mill. En route to a mill like Heskey. And my city might be coming for the sterling. I'm speeding like Stanley, so we might get tech. And this ain't no Ben. She pull her top up like myself. She said she wanna go to the finals. Could she even hold the semi? Let me go for a minute. Trying to hit a belly with a squad. More time than the reason I was missing. Different. You can see the drip when we step. That splash was the fault that I man I went fishing. And the Gucci came straight from the Naples, Italy, big bro looking insinuate. Look at this day. T just turned 23 now. He trying to get a watch just to match with the chain. I couldn't wait to the end of the month, man. I had to be up, so I switched up the break. Can't really trying to blow this cake like a birthday. It's coming like March the 8th. And I just said I were with bro, man. He said 2 homes gonna be okay. Like we'll be back this summer. Pray to the Lord for the come up, man. You see I got my hands on the ball, Maradona. And this thing try digging for the bees. I tell her I'm broke, I need more like seller. And this thing try digging for the bees. I tell her I'm broke, I need more like seller. Double up, man, I'm trying to add zeros. Them man there for the other win, but we got it last minute, man, I feel like Aguero. Long time I've been dishing out CVs. Back down, I speak to a boss. And my young bro linking these girls, now he pissed, he got make up on his Fendi top. I'm en route to a mill. En route to a mill like Heskey. And my city might be coming for the sterling. I'm speeding like Stanley, so we might get tech. And this ain't no Ben. She pull her telly. She said she wanna go to the finals. Could she even hold the semi?